Welcome to the Everything Works Out for Us podcast. My name is Marina, and I'm so happy that you're here to join me on this journey of embracing a growth mindset that's grounded in gratitude and self-awareness. I'm an REBT mindset life coach, actor, singer, content creator, and the bigger sister that you always wanted. And I'm ready to start turning our mental and emotional roadblocks into road maps. In each episode, I holistically utilize psychology, spirituality, and my own personal experiences to strive to empower you to step into your power and deeply connect to both your inner knowing and the world around you. Let's grow together. Hi, my beautiful listeners, and welcome back to the pod. I hope you all are doing well and staying healthy. It's definitely sicky season, and for the first time since 2021, I got taken down by a little cold. Usually my immune system is really strong, so I'm not used to it, but I'm fine. Before I digress, this week I am so incredibly thrilled to share this interview with you with the brilliant Jacq Gould, founder of Your Inner Babe. Jacq is a mindset coach who helps women transform their attitude surrounding self-love, self-worth, and self-acceptance. And her work came into my sphere through a Christmas present that I received. She created this beautiful deck of affirmations that spoke to my soul so deeply that I knew I just had to learn more about her. And as it turns out, we live in the same city, went to the same college, graduated with the same major, and have the same teachers. Had the same teachers. If that doesn't show you that nothing is a coincidence and that everything that is meant for you will find you when it's aligned, I don't know what will. So this week, join me as we learn from Jacq all about self-love, what doing the work truly means, and how letting go and choosing ourselves is one of the most selfless things that we can do. Let's dive right in. Hi, Jacq. I am so happy and honored to have you on the show and to expose all of my listeners to you. You and your work has resonated with me so much in such a short time, and we're going to get into it obviously here on the pod, but everything happens for a reason. The stars have aligned to bring this connection together, and I would love if you could introduce yourself in your words, tell the listeners who you are, speak a little bit about your journey as a human being, as a performer, and as a coach, um and the title that you want to give yourself. Actually, I don't know what
Mhm.
it would be, but you can give it to
Yeah.
yourself.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here, and I agree. No mistakes. The universe doesn't mess up. It's going to lead you to the people and to the things that are meant for you exactly when they're supposed to be there. So I'm really happy to be here. But for those of you listening, I'm Jacq Gould. Hi. I am a mentality coach and the founder of Your Inner Babe. I call myself a mentality coach because I really pride myself on being able to shift the attitude of somebody's mind and the way that they think and feel about themselves and the way that they speak to themselves. To me, the way that you speak to yourself about yourself dictates everything. Literally creates your reality, the reality that you live in. So, I'm not a health coach or a life coach. I'm really focused on the relationship that you have with you. From the second that we're born, we're taught how to be in relationship with other people. If you think about it, you're born and you're immediately taught how to, form relationships with your parents, your siblings, your grandparents, as you get older, your friends, your coworkers, your other authority in your life, but no one ever teaches us how to have a relationship with ourselves. And that relationship is the most important relationship because it's a direct reflection of everything else. Every other relationship is stemming from the one that we have with us. So that is what I do with people. Your Inner Babe is a coaching company, and I work with women of all ages on prioritizing that relationship that you have with you. But I got here because I battled with myself all throughout my younger years. I had an eating disorder that um, I did a really good job of convincing myself I didn't have when I was in high school. I was a performer I did musical theater my entire life. I thought actually Broadway was going to be my destiny. And I was really good at hiding behind a smile, hiding behind the characters and the stage that I was on. And I never looked sick. I'm tall to society standards. I was just beautiful. So no one ever said anything. And I moved to New York City to go to NYU to study acting. And I always like to say that I moved there with a whole lot of baggage, like literally and figuratively. I had like 24 boxes of shit, but also like a lot of shit. Um, but my junior year of college, I hit my rock bottom and I was actually failing out of NYU. And that was the moment I decided I needed to either get help or stop living because I was just no longer really living. Because the eating disorder that I convinced myself I didn't have in high school came back real full force in college. And so I got amazing clinical help. And those therapists that helped me in this outpatient program that I went to, they absolutely helped me take my life back. But I would leave that therapeutic setting and I would just still feel really alone. I felt like there was this gap in the space where I had all of this awareness about myself. I was learning all this amazing stuff, but I didn't have that person who was really going to hold me accountable and help me actually implement any of it into my life to make a change or take any action to get to where I deserve to be. And so, I got healthy. Ultimately, I graduated from college. And long story long, I ended up becoming the person that I needed because I decided after trying on a few other career paths for size that that was what I was meant to do. All my struggles were really becoming my purpose at that point. And, that gap I believed was only going to be bridged if I was going to be the one to do it. So I did it. And that's how I got here.
Can you speak a little bit about that bridge between clinical help and mindset work? I'm curious
Yeah,
about how you would differentiate it.
totally. It's one of the most frequently asked questions I would say I get from people. What is the biggest difference between what you do and therapy? And the thing I always say is I am a huge therapy advocate. I am still in therapy myself, but therapy is a lot of talking. You're going to spend a lot of time talking. Nice to meet you. I'm action. So we're going to take action. We're going to meet all the awareness that you've probably already developed, meet it with even more awareness, and then sandwich it with action. In order to make any real change or shift, we have to take action and we have to play an active role in that change. We can't just expect knowing why we are the way that we are to get us to where we want to be. We gotta, get that ball moving ourselves, which sounds daunting, I think, in the beginning, but once you have the right system and the right support, all the tools and the accountability, it's actually really empowering because you realize like I am in control of my entire life. Like I can do this. Everything I need, I already have. That's the biggest difference.
So you said you became the person that you really needed. Did you create your own roadmap in that way and design the tools that you use for healing and helping others heal yourself, or did you outsource it from other people? What was your process like of finding how to become the best you and how to help other women?
Yeah. So when I decided that I was going to do what I do now and start YIB, so at that time, this was 2014. And actually in 2014, I got scouted to model. And I had, known what it was like to hate myself for as long as I did. I finally was in this place where I didn't. And I had done enough work to get to that point where like I liked myself. I was comfortable in my skin. And so I told myself I would model if I could, inspire one girl a day to find that same level of comfort. And so I set out to do that. And within the year that I modeled, my now husband moved us from New York to Chicago. And when I got here, I had this like identity crisis. I was like, I don't know who I am without New York City. I realized in that moment that, that sports bra model on set was doing nothing. It wasn't reaching anybody. And I left set one day and I had this conversation with my Grammy, who was like, she was my person. She was just looking at me and she was like, "What's up?" And I'm like, I don't know. I feel completely lost. I feel totally disconnected. I just feel like, what I set out to do, I'm just not doing." And she was like, "Okay, what was that?" And I was like, I wanted, to reach women. I wanted to help them feel comfortable and, inspire them to like accept themselves. And she was like, "That's great." She stopped me and she was like, "But why?" And it was in that moment that I realized, like, because I need to become the person that I needed. Like, I need to bridge this gap and I need to shift the attitude of people's minds and the way that they think and feel about themselves. And she looked at me and she was like, "You just lit up. Like, you have no choice. You have to do that." And so that night I went home and I started researching certification programs and I signed up for my first one that night and I started it the next day. And now, that was 2017 and now I'm 5 times certified. So, everything I did in that moment with her is what changed the course of my entire life. And everything I do with people is something that I have done myself, whether it's, work I've done. I've, found a way to figure out like what was the most relevant to me, or like, for example, like I might go through some major transformation through a retreat or something. And there's an exercise that we do there that I am feeling really inspired by. I will find in that exercise what I feel is like the hottest, most collective theme that people would typically work through. And I will find a way to formulate a tool for other people and I'll bring it into a program or into a retreat. So everything that I do with people via group or retreat or workshop is born from, something in me, something that I've moved through.
I think that's the only way that you can truly genuinely connect with people is when you
Mm-hmm.
allow yourself to be vulnerable with others. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's really beautiful. I think in the health and wellness sphere, the work is a
Mm-hmm.
phrase that is so commonly used, and I don't wanna necessarily say thrown around, but I think can become kind of vague, and it's like, what does that actually mean? So,
Mm-hmm.
in your words, what does the work mean to you?
So I think it's sort of like that journey to self-love, right? To me, that's what the work means. And I think with how relevant social media is today, like in our world, like people tend to immediately begin when they want that, like when they want to start that journey, they begin to outsource for answers. So they're like constantly from the second they decide they want to feel better, looking outside of themselves, whether they're, following that wellness blogger or they're buying that self-help book or they're listening to that recent podcast episode on biohacking. Do you know what I mean? They're looking outside of themselves. And that's to me why the work gets so daunting
Mm.
or overwhelming or big. Because the truth is that nothing outside of you is going to satiate you the way that you will for you. And what you have to do is take the time to listen and take the time to build trust with yourself and to fall in love with yourself. Like that's the only way that the work is going to work. But it does work if you let it work. It just requires you to simply decide, like, okay, I'm going to learn this skill. Because that's the thing, too, right? Relationship is a skill. It's a skill. And I don't think people realize that. It's a skill like any other skill that you could learn, but it's one that requires practice and consistency and commitment. And you got to choose to learn it. You're not just going to wake up one day and be like, I know how to do it. It's like you get the tools, you practice, and that's when you strengthen your skill. But it's possible for anyone and everyone. But it gets daunting when I think when you're outside of it and you're like, where do I even begin? And to me, what I say to everyone is like, it starts with you. It always starts with you.
Well, I think that's a perfect segue into your reconnection deck because I love tangible things and tangible tools I can look at and touch and see and be like, I am going to open this up and read it. And this is something that I can do to help me on my journey to loving myself. So I would love if you could talk about your deck.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, I received this as a gift for Christmas, and it's one of the most touching gifts that I have ever received. And I opened it, and there's this little note in the cover of the deck. So I would love to read that if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
When I
Please.
first read it out loud at the dinner table at Christmas, I started crying in front of my entire
Mm,
family. But yeah, it's very beautiful. So I would just like to share it. So
please
inside
share.
the deck, it says, "One day you'll decide to let it all go, move with the flow, and stop holding on. One day you'll decide that life is better when you really trust yourself and you simply allow it all to unfold. The truth is, life will fall into place exactly as it's meant to, exactly when it needs to, regardless of how tightly you're holding on. Take a deep breath, reconnect, and let today be the day." It's so
Mhm.
beautiful.
I'm so glad you feel that way.
Yeah. So I would love for you to talk about your inspiration for the deck and what your process was like making it. And
Mhm.
I would love to pull a card from the deck as well, if that's okay.
Totally. Absolutely. So I decided to do this deck because I am guilty of outsourcing, tarot readings and oracle readings. And I was never one to pull those cards for myself. I kind of always told myself I couldn't do it, and I since have gotten decks of tarot and decks of oracle cards, and I've pulled cards and all of that. But I wanted
Wait, can
to
you be honest? Are you on
yes,
tarot TikTok?
I'm not.
See, I feel like this is the healthiest place to be is not on tarot TikTok. I haven't made it there quite yet. They
Yeah.
do feed my delusions. But
Oh, you're saying like
anyway,
people who pull your card who pull cards and like
yeah,
yes, yes, yes. It is like it's very easy to feed the delulu because that's what they're
yeah.
looking for. It's like the clickbait. Totally. Totally. We can talk about that another time. But I think,
I eat it up every time. Why do I eat it up every
I
time?
know you're not the only one. That's why there's like millions of views on those
I
videos. It's
know.
okay. But perfect segue into why I wanted to create this deck was because I wanted to create a deck that was like an inner knowing messaging deck, like a deck that was a 50 card deck of messages that you received from you to you. So in the connection journal, which is the journal that I created first before this deck existed, there are coaching cues on the evening wind downs in the journal. The journal has a place for you to like do your morning brain dumps. And then at the end of each day, there's an evening wind down. And on the bottom of every evening wind down, I wrote out coaching cues for the entire journal. And when I started using the journal the first time, I would hide my arm, like I would cover the coaching cue and I would fill out the page and then I would read it. And it happened to be relevant every single freaking time. Like I'd be like, how does it know what I need to hear? And I wrote those messages and I still was like, I don't understand. Translate that same thing where people are able to sit down with themselves, take a few deep breaths, really center and connect, and ask themselves, what do I need to hear to carry on with my day or to, sleep soundly? Or like if they're moving through a huge transition or they're struggling with a relationship or they're just needing some like general life purpose guidance or, feeling this overall heaviness. It's like I said in the beginning, we are so used to outsourcing for that guidance. Why not ask ourselves? We are our best self expert. We already know. We already have what we need. We just have to listen and we have to ask and we have to trust. So I was like, I'm going to create this deck where not only are the messages coming through, but an affirmation is coming through too, because that is like a declaration to the universe. Like, this is who I am. This is what I am. And I did it by every single time I would meditate and then I would journal. And what I felt the general messages were from the journal dump that I did, I would pull those messages And because I knew if I was receiving the message from the journaling, it wasn't just for me. I share them on my stories a lot. I'll journal and then I'll share, what came up for me because I'm big on that and sharing. And without fail, every single time, people are like, "Wow, how did you know this is exactly what I needed to hear? Like this is exactly what I'm experiencing." And so I knew every time I was going to meditate, I was going to channel some sort of message, whether it was one or two or whatever. So it took me a long time to get 50 because again, like I'd get one message sometimes or sometimes I'd get two. But each card in this deck is and it has an intentional message with it. So once I got the message, I'd pair an affirmation with it. And it's so infused with that love and that intention that I think that's why it hits so hard, the way that it's been hitting for people. And hearing when people tell me that like it is, or I'll get messages like, "Oh my God, this pull is like my favorite pull so far. Like these cards, like they're speaking to me. It's a dream come true because it's exactly what I wanted it to be. I wanted people to trust themselves enough to ask themselves for what they needed. And like choose to tap into like their own internal dialogue instead of looking to other people for it. So that message on the inside of it even is a channeled message too. And I'm saying channeled, which is something I wouldn't have said months and months ago. I'm now letting myself say that. For a while I was like, I don't channel, I don't do that. But to some degree it is channeled. And I don't know where I'm getting it from. I don't know, what it is, but I do have a gift that allows me to know what needs to be said. So that's where it all comes from.
Remove the stigma of the woo woo, I'm a
Totally.
like witchy make believe thing.
Totally.
No, you can channel things from source, from the universe, from God, whatever you
100%.
call it. That just proves that you're grounded in who you are.
100%. I used to say it was my Grammy who was like feeding me stuff, but now that like takes the credit away from me. And I know she's like sitting up there being like, "Good job, Cookie." Like it's not me, it's you. Um, so yeah, but I totally agree. It's like there's no woo-woo here. There's no bullshit. This is literally me meditating, being clear enough to write. I'm writing everything and I'm pulling the message, baby, and it's hitting. So
Do you
believe
have
it or
a
not.
favorite affirmation? Is that
Oh
an
yeah.
appropriate question even? Because I guess it
It's like
changes.
asking your favorite kid. I am holding my deck right now. I am I don't know. I don't know if I have a favorite. I do have, it's funny. I love I Am Magic, and that's on the bottom of my deck right now. Not a coincidence. This one says, "I hope you choose to chase your most vivid dreams, and I hope you allow yourself to reach for the stars because everything and anything is possible." And when I was in college, I had a teacher tell me my dreams were too big, and I believed her. And I held myself back. I didn't even let myself try. When I graduated from NYU, I wanted nothing to do with performing and I didn't even let myself try. I bailed. So whenever I pull the I Am Magic card, I'm like, there is no dream too big, baby. Like, go for it. So I do love that card. But they're all so good. They really are. But I think, you said you wanted to pull a card. I think I'm going to pull for you if you're open to
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. So you just close your eyes and breathe and put your hands on your heart. And as I'm shuffling, I just want you to ask yourself first, how am I feeling? So we'll do a very broad hand on heart right now. How am I feeling? And whatever feeling you receive, I just want you to notice it. Don't judge it or try and change it. And once you receive the feeling or the feelings, because there could be more than one, I want you to ask yourself for a message. Is there anything that you need to hear? Does your mind, your body, your soul, your inner babe want you to know? And let yourself receive that. whatever it is, again, without judgment. And when you feel like you've received it, you can open your eyes. Okay. The way that I pull, I don't know if you pull this way when you're using it, but I actually pull 3 cards, or I give myself 3 cards. I pull first, and then I ask myself again, like, is there anything else I need to hear? And then I always check the bottom. So I'm just going to pull from the top for you and then pull again. And then we're going to check the bottom and see if
Okay.
they hit. I've never pulled, well, I mean, I've pulled through the screen in groups, but let's see. Okay. Here's energy. First pull. I am unique. Says changing for someone and growing with someone are 2 very different things. When you grow with someone, you like who you're becoming. When you change yourself for someone, you lose who you are. Okay. And then I'll pull again. And I got, I am generous. You can be kind without being a people pleaser. You can be generous without self sacrificing. You can love others deeply and still love yourself first. Sensing a theme. And on the bottom of the deck is I am detaching. Letting go is letting yourself grow. Does that resonate?
Yes, very much so.
Mhm.
Like you just said, I'm sensing a theme.
Mhm.
The theme of my past year of 2023 was all about detaching and letting go. And
Mhm.
then a lot of things fall under that umbrella. So, letting go of the people pleasing, letting go of the
Mhm.
perfectionism, letting go of the ideas and the people that I thought created my identity and
Mm.
defined me. And so now I'm learning to accept and love that I am unique and that
Mhm.
I I make up or all my qualities make up who I am, not
Mhm.
these external sources. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, thank you for pulling that for me.
Of course.
Um,
Yeah, I love pulling 3 because they always end up like telling a story. There's always
yeah,
a through line. I'll take a picture and send this to you.
please
Um,
do.
but yeah, no, I love that you love the deck. It's it's really like a dream product for me, and I use it every day. Talk about a tangible tool, like you said. It is like one of the quickest things that you could use and do for yourself is to sit quietly, put your hands on your heart, ask for a message, and pull a card. Come on,
And the message is never wrong. It is literally what you need to hear
never,
every single time.
every single time. It's crazy.
I would love to hear in your words the how letting go and loving yourself marry each other. If
Mhm.
that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think when you let go of someone or something, that is one of the most courageous things and bravest things you could do. Because usually when we choose ourselves, often we're choosing to kind of break our own hearts at the same time. And the beauty of that is we're the ones who get to put the pieces back together. So, the people that we're letting go of or the things we're letting go of, those might have made up some of those pieces, but we are the ones that glue those pieces together. Letting go is it's a direct saying of I deserve more. I'm worthy of more. It's saying I choose me. And that is self-love in its purest form. So you don't let go of someone or something if you're not saying I love myself. It's like saying it's like one and the same. You're saying, I love myself enough to let go. I have no choice. I gotta. I don't have another choice. And I really relate to that too. That's been like a big lesson that I've been moving through and having to work through in the last 7, 8 months, at the end of the year into this year. It's been a lot of recognizing that I could be kind without being a people pleaser, and I can let go and choose me, and that's perfectly okay. It's hard, but it's shown me brighter than I've ever seen it how much I actually do value me.
Do you have advice for removing the stigma of being called selfish for choosing yourself?
I just think it's an energy based act. You know if you're choosing yourself with intention versus if you're choosing yourself to be a dick. There's a difference. And I think selfish is like you're not thinking of anybody else. You're just literally thinking like, this is what's going to work for me and this is what I'm going to do. And, I don't care how it affects anybody else. That's not what choosing you means. Choosing you is like, I care so much about the people in my life that I'm going to prioritize myself so that I'm the best version of me to show up for these people. I'm going to make these choices that, yeah, might shift the dynamic of this relationship for the time being, but it's not only going to benefit me, it's going to benefit this person too. I wouldn't just do this for me, So it has nothing to do with just focusing on you. It's just about deciding what's going to allow you to be the most present, available, connected you. And that's to anybody a benefit. So that's, I think, how you differentiate. It's an energy and it's an intention behind the choice every time.
Yeah. And I think when you do finally start choosing yourself in that selfless way, things really do start aligning and falling into place.
Hmm.
And I I mean, I don't know if you agree with that, but if you do,
Yeah,
do you have examples in your life where you were holding on so tightly to things ultimately not meant for you versus when you started choosing yourself and then things started aligning for you?
absolutely. My whole life right now. Um, I'm a control freak. So I spent a lot of time trying to control the outcome of things, even if the things I was trying to control the outcome with were not right for me. And um, I spent so much time, trying to be somebody instead of just being Jacq. And what I've realized is the more that I have allowed myself to be me, truly just be Jacq and surrender to the fact that like the things that I want are happening for me. I don't have to control anything. I need to let go, of how it's going to happen and just be able to see it and believe it and feel it. The more I've leaned into that, the things have happened. And I think the truth is like it stems from self-worth. And my self-worth has really grown and strengthened over the last couple months because I've let go of things that were not serving me anymore. I've made those choices that were really tough. I've had those conversations that kept me up at night before I had them, the ones that like terrified me. But every day we have a choice. And that choice is to either stay exactly where we are or to move closer to this version of ourselves that like we deserve to be connected to. So that choice to stay stagnant or that choice to feel alive, like that's our choice to make. And um, I've never felt more free than I do now because of making these choices. But every time we attach ourselves to self worth, like our self worth to the things outside of us, so, you know, to the people or the jobs or the relationship or the achievements or, other people's opinions, we give our power to those external things.
Mhm.
And so then we let those external things dictate how we think and feel about ourselves instead of letting ourselves dictate what we believe we deserve. And self worth, true self worth is not a physical thing. True self worth pays no attention to the things outside of you. doesn't care, because true self-worth is this like never ending feeling of wholeness and connectedness and
Sorry,
satisfaction.
my cat is he's meowing in the background.
We love it.
He wants to
He's
chime
That's
in.
confirmation. But it's satisfaction. It's all felt from here. So if we choose to remove our attachments to those things outside of us, and we just simply let ourselves admire the person that we are at our core and be that person, that's when everything naturally falls into place.
Do you have tips on how to silence the voices that have told us that we're not good enough, that we can't do
Mm.
it, much like your teacher in school?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I mean is the way you speak to yourself about yourself can dictate your entire world. The best thing that I say to people always is audit the way that you speak to yourself. Be really honest with the talk track that you hear in your mind so that you can combat that talk track with a different talk track, a different narrative. Um, and for me, a really, when I first started this journey to self love myself, I was living in New York City and my negative narrative was so loud and that self doubt was so loud. And I have vivid memories of walking down the street and I'd be walking, and I'd hear it. And in order to, start combating that, I'd play an active role. And I would say out loud to myself, almost like I envisioned like a dog had a ball in its mouth and I wanted it to like give it to me. So I'd out loud be like, drop it, drop it, drop it, drop it. And I probably looked insane, but I was in New York. So I was like, no one's paying attention to me. But like for so long, I would tell myself to drop it. Anytime I heard something negative, drop it. It's a disruptor, because eventually I would drop it and then I would actively say something nice or something more productive. It's neuroscience. You're disrupting your impulse.
Mhm.
You're shifting your impulse. Eventually your impulse is not going to be that negative thing. It's going to be the other one, the one that's more productive and supportive. But it takes effort. That's what people are like, do it once and they're like, it doesn't work. Well, no, that's the consistency in the practice. So every time you hear something negative, it's literally saying, nope, let's try that again. And just saying something nice. Even when you're brushing your teeth in the morning, it's like you can't, you catch yourself picking apart your physical appearance. Oh my God, hi, cutie.
Oh my
But
That's
you
so
catch
cute.
yourself picking apart your physical appearance. He wants to tell you you're beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, you say something kind to yourself. And it doesn't have to be something crazy that you've never said before that you don't even believe. It could be like, find the one thing you like. You like your teeth? Great. You have a beautiful smile, Jacq. Like you like your earrings? I really like your earrings today. Just try. And to me, self trust is what builds the confidence. And so if you promise yourself that you're going to play that active role and start to disrupt these negative narratives and trade them out for something more productive, and you actually follow through on that promise, you're going to trust yourself more and you're going to feel more confident in yourself. That's just how it works.
Yeah. I've spoken about this on other episodes before, but it really is about those little things that you implement every single day. It's not a race. And
No.
in our society, we want these quick fixes, but I just want to reiterate for whatever it's worth. Like you said, it's the self-trust, it's the doing the little things every single day, the repetition that is what brings us closer to our truest, most healed selves.
Yep. Yep. And I'll tie it back to practical aesthetics. So,
For
practical
those
aesthetics,
who don't know,
yeah,
practical aesthetics is the acting technique that both Jack and I are actors, and we both went to NYU and we both went to the same acting studio, which is
crazy. What are the
insane.
odds?
And we both were low-key traumatized by some of the same teachers and the things that they said to us. But anyway, practical aesthetics, yeah, is that acting technique that we were taught. So continue.
And the whole thing with practical aesthetics is that everything that you need in order to get what you want out of, the scene, whether that's an emotion or like anything, is rooted in the other person. It's not rooted in you. It's rooted in what's outside of you, which is interesting. Um, but I always tell people to try one tool, and if that tool doesn't work, try a different tactic to get what you want. It's okay. Like let it go and change. Just because it works for me to journal every morning, to like dump what's in my brain and to be clear to start my day, doesn't mean that you have to start your day journaling. And that's the only way you're going to be in a strong relationship with yourself. The
Mhm.
only way you're going to feel that level of self love. No, like your practice that can get you there literally might be pulling a card off the top of the deck. It literally might be getting up, standing by the window, taking a deep breath, and moving on with your day. Like there are so many things you could do that you're probably already doing that you just need to put an intention behind. And that will immediately start that relationship with you, that will make it stronger. And you're already doing it. So it doesn't even really require anything crazy or this big overhaul of your being. It's just paying attention to the things that you already do and the things that are already existing in your life that make you feel good, and then putting an intention behind them for you.
I think that's a beautiful definition of mindfulness too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just being
Absolutely.
aware every single day, actively using that intention to carry you through your
Mm-hmm.
day. And when you get thrown off kilter, you're always able to recenter yourself and be like, wait, what was my intention today? Oh, it was this.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, honestly, I think that is a good summation
Yeah.
to the episode, but I would love if you could just talk a little bit about your programs and your
Mhm.
coaching. You are located in Chicago, but do you work with people all over the world or all over the
Yeah.
country? What does that look like
Mhm.
for you? And
Yeah.
just give yourself a little self-love, a little shout out.
We'll give a little shameless plug. I am based in Chicago, but I everything I do group wise, the biggest thing at YIB is called Reconnected. It is a group 8 week program, all virtual, small, 6 people max, 90 minutes a week for 8 weeks. That's virtual. So it doesn't matter where you are. People are all over the world in these groups. It's the beauty of Zoom. It's allowing you to connect with 5 other women in all different places, moving through their own journeys and there for themselves, which is the same, the most beautiful thing. It's the same purpose. We're all there for the same reason, moving through it at different times in different literal places around the world, but for the same reason, which is ourselves. So Reconnected is the signature group program. I do those all the time. I run a couple at a time. You can find the dates. The next one that we have availability in is in May, starts in May. Um, I also run workshops though in the major cities, Chicago, New York, LA, Miami. Um, and my next workshop is actually next week in Chicago. It's on the 22nd. And that one is a girls' night out. It's a date yourself night. It's going to be centered around self love. So that's fun. The one after that will be in May in LA. But I also do retreats. And the retreats are much bigger. They're 40 people and they're weekend retreats. So they're 3 days with me, all centered around this work. And I'm using quotations if you can't see me, the work, but the journey to you, right? The journey to choosing you and into prioritizing the relationship with you and making that the strongest one that you could possibly have in your life. And that next one we're running is in April. It's sold out, but if you get on the wait list, you will be the first to know about the dates that we drop in fall for the next one. So yeah, that's about it. Or you could buy the reconnection deck in the journal and we can start that together whenever, wherever.
And follow
That's
her
available on
on
the site.
Insta at Your Inner Babe, I
At your inner
think.
babe at Jacq Gould is at Jacq
Oh,
Gould is
okay.
my personal Instagram. Follow me there and you can DM me. I always respond. Would love to hear from you about anything and anything you're moving through. But your inner babe is the brand page too, and would love to see you there too.
Amaze. Well, thank you for sharing.
Thank you for
Thank you
having
for
me.
coming on the pod, and I can't wait to see you at the girls' night out.
Yes, yes, we'll both be there. We'll both be there.
So we'll see all y'all listeners at the next one in LA.
Yes, we will.
All right. Signing off for now.